Shadow Escavalier hits the field of play, looking to get a running start. The opponent not wanting to get farmed down, pivot out into Malamar. I'm going straight for the Razor Shell. Razor Shell, not a particularly good move. The opponent reluctant to shield, but we get that 50-50 coin flip of getting the debuff. Whilst counters energy generation might have got nerfed, the fast move pressure is just as deadly as it always was. This now sets up the opportunity for Escavalier to give him that fast move beatdown. We're going to counter farm down Malamar, counter farm down Registeel, and take that game. Welcome back to the channel. This weekend we had one of the strangest community days ever. A lot of people have actually said it's the worst com day in Pokemon Go PvP history. I personally didn't mind it, if I'm being honest. Any com day we have where the Shadow variant's already released sounds like a win to me. We've got Shadow Escavalier and Shadow Escavalier. Both of them got quite strange moves. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Legacy Shadow Escavalier in the Open Ultra League. This Pokemon is ranked outside of the top 400 and the recommended moveset isn't even his legacy move of Razor Shell. However, I personally think Razor Shell is the way to go for two reasons. Firstly, it's his cheapest charge move. Counter's energy generation has been nerfed and counter users now pace horrendously. Straight sixes to that move that comes with a 50-50 chance of getting a debuff. Escavalier is also a bug and steel type, having only one weakness and that is to fire. So having a water type cheap charge move that can hit back against your hardest counters sounds like a win to me. Unfortunately, my timing for this video is not great. The Ultra League left around 24 hours ago. This video would have been out a lot sooner, but I'm sure a lot of you know I did attend a funeral. I wasn't really in the right headspace to make any content. 91% of you said you still wanted to see the video, so if you are someone that's going to watch this video, despite the league not being available, smash that like button and help this video at least try and get some views. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we lead Dragonite into Pangoro. Today's team building nice and simple. A tried and tested strategy of Dragonite with two steel types in the back. We're always going to be looking to pivot into Steelix, our safe switch, looking to bait out the hardest steel type counter, hopefully enabling Escavalier to have any chance or some chance of sweeping the back line. Of course, PvPoke tells me it's terrible, but I need to test that out for myself. In battle number 1, we saw Pangoro. The opponent went for a chip and dip and sent out the balloon. Here I could fire off the Psychic Fangs, removing them from the field of play, but I intentionally do not throw. I don't want to give Pangoro a whole heap of farm. As you can already tell, my Dragonite severely chipped and Escavalier is extremely glassy. Instead, I'm going to send out Dragonite, get an energy lead and look to make the opponent make the first shielding decision of the game. They send out Tentacruel, we fire off the Dragon Claw, obtaining ourselves that shield advantage and send out Escav. Escav actually core breaking the remainder of the team. The opponent farmed to a Scold. We will respect it. The opponent, like a savage, go for an Acid Spray bait, which is double resisted. The opponent then pivots out into Pangoro. Pangoro was energy dry. I'm going to go for a cheeky undercharge. Look to counter farm down before they even reach a Night Slash. The farm down and the undercharge was a beauty, if I do say so myself. Back out comes Tentacruel. The opponent has CMP tied me. I believe this is only an acid spray, but I already know that no bait will be saving this opponent's fate. I'm more than happy to shield this move up. We've now got a 4-stage lowered defense, but despite this, the opponent going to be unable to poison jab farm down, unable to reach a charge move, and Escavalier is going to sweep the back line. GG's and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Shadow Ampharos in the lead. This is a neutral matchup, however, when we're on an ABB team, you do want to pivot out of neutral scenarios into your safe switch, looking to bait out that steel type counter. We go for a catch unsuccessfully, the opponent holds their energy and send out Gator. This works for me, to be honest. Gator, not all that advantageous into the Thunderfang variant of Steelix, and as the opponent opted to stay and build up yet more energy with Ampharos, we're actually able to outpace to the next Psychic Fangs and obtain ourselves a shield advantage here in the mid game. The opponent's forced to throw almost instantly, as they'll get deleted in just a couple more Thunderfangs. The opponent obliges, throwing that charge move. They do make a heads up play, going for the combo play out into Ampharos. I'm going to shield up the Brutal Swing. I'm then going to fire off the Superpower. Superpower will do more than the Dragon Claw, and I want to guarantee the knockout. Superpower removes them from the field of play. I pivot out into Escavalier, resetting my debuff, and out comes Kanto Mark. Despite the very low ranking on Escavalier, there are a lot of poison types in this meta matchups that should be advantageous. I intentionally don't shield that move, wanting to see how glassy Escav is, and that non-stab Dark Pulse did almost all my HP. I pause a turn, ensuring the drill run lands on its intended target. The opponent then pivots back out into Gator, looking to snipe my remaining HP. We reach the Razor Shell, Dragon Breath farm down for Alligator, back out comes Kanto Mark. The opponent going to be looking for that double up, one to force my shield and one to knock me out, but Dragonite outpaces to the Dragon Claw and we take that game. In the next battle, we see the mirror matchup. I could switch straight out into Steelix, however what I like to do is farm up, try and catch a Dragon Claw onto Steelix, banking my energy, knowing Dragonite will likely win CMP in the endgame. We're able to catch the Dragon Claw, and once again Gator is counter swapped into my Steelix. I'm personally opting for Earthquake on Steelix. I've seen a lot of people go for twin debuff moves, and that certainly is not my playstyle. I overfarm, looking to bait an Earthquake. Let's see if the opponent knows their count. The opponent with a stone cold no shield, and then even throw on CMP. Clearly this opponent's been to school and know their counts. We soft lose this mid game matchup, and this now sets up an opportunity for Escavalier to come in and get an energy lead. With counter's energy generation, you really do need energy leads wherever you can take them. Escavalier gets that counter farm down, Dragonite re-enters the arena. They've certainly found themselves in a range where even this absolutely terrible move of Razor Shell will knock them out. To my surprise, the opponent puts up that Protect Shield, and I am going to match. The opponent going to fire off the Dragon Claw bait, but I'm more than happy with that actually, as it just means we get more farm. The opponent realises they're not going to reach another charge move, pivot out into Tentacle, we force in the Drill Run. Drill Run rocks the Squid, below half health, despite Escavalier using a full moveset where not a single move gets same type attack bonus. Our monstrous attack stat and shadow bonus more than make up for it. We shield up the Scold, fire off the Razor Shell, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. We then go for the wham, bam, combo play, give the opponent the Big Mac with their fries on the side. Dragon Claw knocks them out, we Dragon Breath farm down Dragonite and take that game. Heading into the next battle, looks like we're going to run it back, but this opponent, unlike the last, is also running the Shadow, which means we're going to take even more damage, and my Dragonite's now on fractional HP. However, we do bank the charge move, make the pivot into Steelix, and the opponent sends out their own Steelix. So I'm wondering, is this the same team? I think Dragonite double Steel. It's not really a common team anymore, but is a pretty common strategy. If you're going to run Dragonite, you need two very hard fairy checks. The opponent's able to win CMP. My Steelix is a pretty good rank. Not the best. I think it's like rank 97 or something. But more than does the job. The opponent either don't have Earthquake or they're just going for debuffs. Regardless, we was able to sneak our Earthquake through two protections. I'm then going to fire off this Psychic Fangs. Wait for the opponent to throw and look to snipe with Escavalier. Calling the opponent's got a second Steel type in the back. And with an energy lead, Escavalier should be off to the races. I send out Escav. Escav gets that farm down. Come on, trainer, show me another Steel type. Oh, crap. That's a Typhlosion. Team call horrendous, but we are able to reach the Razor Shell. Razor Shell forces the opponent. Final Protect Shield, and we get the defense drop. I have still got two Protect Shields. The opponent instantly resets their debuff, sending out Dragonite. Typhlosion, going to fire off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch will, of course, be forcing my Protect Shield. I'm then going to farm up, throw the Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw should be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. I'm then actually going to farm up, transfer the Incinerate onto Steelix. Steelix able to reach the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs isn't lethal, but does debuff their defense. The opponent unable to reach the double up. We Dragon Breath farm down and take that game. So for those of you that don't understand what I mean by transfer the Incinerate, through 3 Dragon Breaths, then pivoted, the damage will register on turn 4, meaning Steelix actually took the Incinerate as opposed to Dragonite. In the next battle, we see Skuntank in the lead. The opponent save switches into Gator. I don't often shield Steelix, but I definitely want to realign. If you're using Shadow Steelix, you should know that it is the monster of cheesing its way through matchups that has no right in winning. So I'm going to go for the 1 shield, full Thunder Fang farm down, getting my Escavalier onto that Skuntank. Potentially anyway, but if this opponent doesn't know about that Earthquake coverage, they're about to find out. Earthquake picks up that 1 shot, get that Skuntank off my screen, it's Guzzlord in the back. We show him Escavalier, the opponent doesn't want the smoke, they concede the match, and I emerge victorious. In the next battle, we see some Shadow and Shadow Crime with the mighty Shadow Zapdos in the lead. The pacing for Drill Peck is 5 for the first, 4 for the second. So with that in mind, I'm going to shield the first. I don't want to throw at such a low health Zapdos, so I bank all the energy and catch the next Drill Peck onto my save switch of Steelix. Drill Peck doesn't do much whatsoever, and out comes Poliwrath. Despite the typing advantage with the opponent, this is more of a neutral matchup, as our Thunder Fangs and Psychic Fangs both hit Poliwrath for super effective. The opponent does a nice job of over farming, meaning I'm not going to have to Dragon Breath farm them down before they reach the potential Icy Wind. Although as I say that, this opponent's running Ice Punch. I think Ice Punch cool tech on Poliwrath. It's 40 energy as opposed to Icy Wind's 45, meaning you do pace quicker. However, now we're seeing the Ice Punch, we know the opponent's only going to reach an Ice Punch. We may as well absorb it on Escavalier. Despite being glassy, non-stab Ice Punch isn't going to do much whatsoever. Back out comes Zapdos, we snipe the remaining HP, and out comes Licky, far too thicky. I attempt to throw on CMP to the Body Slam. The opponent has no intention of throwing, but we're still full sending. We land the Superpower, and we're going to reach the Dragon Claw. Dragonclaw will be forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield, and Escav should be able to clean up. Unfortunately, we just missed out on the Dragonclaw, but that's neither here nor there. We can probably survive any one move. I'm going to shield the first one. We correctly shield the Shadow Ball, counter farm down Lickitung, and take that game. In the next battle, we see Greninja in the lead. The opponent say switches into Skeledirge, and this is definitely where we're going to stay. Of course, we've got two steel types in the back. You don't always have to switch just because the opponent switched. The rest of my team does alright into Greninja. I'd rather not have Steelix aligned. I would like Escav. The opponent doesn't even shield the Dragonclaw. They force in the Shadow Ball and were able to fully Dragon Breath farm down afterwards. The opponent think about what to send out. Switch times are misaligned. Out comes Primarina. I was thinking about sacking Dragonite, but I actually make the pivot into Steelix. Is that the correct play? I'm not sure. But what I do know is I shouldn't have hesitated. I should have either stayed or switched out sooner. I think in hindsight, I should have just stayed, to be honest. Throwing the Super Pouch is single resisted. Primarina's quite glassy in the Ultra League. It would have done some decent chip damage. Then I can align my Steelix onto that Primarina and have Escav for this Greninja. Because despite Escav being a steel type, it's not actually going to be too good into Primarina. And I've potentially made this game quite dicey for myself. I've only got resisted quick moves throughout this Primarina. Escav does resist the charms. And to be honest, we're tanking them better than I expected. The opponent throws an alignment, giving me a free counter. Of course, Razor Shell, a garbage move, 35 energy for 35 damage, but does have a 50-50 chance of getting the debuff, so we're just going to spam them out as soon as we can get it. We get the defense drop, farm up, make the catch, back onto Dragonite. Is that catch necessary in this scenario? Super necessary, as Escav wouldn't have tanked the charge move. The opponent doesn't like the catch, and they concede the match. GG's that opponent. As always, Jamie Finn making battles are far more complicated than they need to be. In the next battle, we see Tapu Fini in the lead. I save switch into Steelix and out comes Skeledirge. Most people don't run Earthquake. We full send Earthquake. Go shielded. Of course, Steelix is my hard counter for that Tapu Fini, but I'm always going to be using Steelix as the safe switch as Escavalier. It certainly isn't safe. As you can see, if they got a fire type, we would have got deleted in the blink of an eye. This Skeledirge is far too healthy for me to try and double resisted counter farm down, so I'm forced to invest in protection here when I really don't want to. I'm then going to over farm, fire off the Dragonclaw. Dragonclaw goes unshielded. I'm then going to pivot out into Escav, and out comes Zygarde. This should be an alright matchup for us, right, as we do resist the Dragon Tails, although it doesn't really look like it. We fire off the Razor Shell, fishing for the defense drop, which we're unfortunately unable to get. This is either a crunch or bulldoze. The opponent throws the bulldoze, a garbage move that also has a coin flip chance of getting the debuff, but the opponent clearly has better RNG luck than me. They're able to get the debuff, meaning these Dragon Tails are now tearing through my HP. Able to reach one further Razor Shell. Razor Shell finally gets the debuff. I attempt to snipe with Dragonite, but I already recognise, even if we get the snipe, I won't be winning that game, as we're going to need so many superpowers to remove that Tapu Fini, and I'm gracefully going to concede the match. In the next battle, we see Golurk in the lead. The opponent's opting to stay in quite a poor matchup. Shadow Punch is survivable. We are going to look to keep Dragonite healthy for any potential fire type they've got in the back. We overfarm, fire off the Dragonclaw just before the next Shadow Punch. The opponent opts to invest a Protect Shield. Rather than double shield my lead, we're going to catch the charge we want to Steelix. The Shadow Punch won't do much, but the Mud Slaps afterwards will do a lot. The opponent recognised we would be able to double resisted Thunderfang farm down and opt to send out the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death. My, I'm so grateful. We've managed to bait this thing out. It looks like the opponent is committing to the full Incinerate farm down, and that's quite risky, to be honest. As I've got a Dragon Breath user, they're now double debuffed. If one Dragon Breath knocks them out, they're not going to get off a charge move whatsoever. Unfortunately, they've got enough HP to survive the Dragon Breath, so I'm going to invest a Protect Shield, blocking up the Brave Bird. The opponent sends out Gator. We need to be mindful that Golurk is still alive. There's the attempted catch. We managed to fully Dragon Breath farm down Golurk. Well, I say fully. One Dragon Breath knocked him out. Gator shields up the first Dragon Claw. We're able to reach the second Dragon Claw on the CMP tie. And that should pretty much wrap this game up. We are now in Hydro Cannon range. However, if the opponent goes for an undercharge, they'll take too much Dragon Breath damage. So their win con is surviving 5 counters, reaching the Hydro Cannon, which they're unable to get. Escav counter farms down, and we take that game. In the next battle, we see Steelix in the lead. I pivot into the mirror, and the opponent sends out Virizion. Both me and my opponent for a really poor time, and it ends up being a CMP tie. So if either of us would have committed to good fast move timing, we would have got a free quick move. I throw the Psychic Fangs, and this time we are going to throw the correct 1, 4 or 7. And look to try and force some energy off the opponent. The opponent continuing to farm up, knowing they survive another Psychic Fangs. This Psychic Fangs gets them low, but we're going to never be able to Thunderfang farm down. The opponent will be removing me from the field of play with the Sacred Sword. We're going to send out Dragonite, look to Dragon Breath farm down. I believe this is only 4, so at worst it's a Leaf Blade or Sacred Sword. They're 1 short of the Stone Edge. That's an easy tank for Dragonite, and we spam the switch into Escav, hoping we core break the back line. Unfortunately, that's a Drifblim. This is where you're going to see just how bad a move Razor Shell is. Yeah, that simply isn't cutting it. The opponent goes straight for the obvious Icy Wind, which is resisted. We are going to be able to survive, but we're going to get Astonished farm down afterwards. Potentially, if I get a debuff here or a shield for no reason whatsoever, we've got a Wink on. The opponent does neither, and I am going to concede the match and stop wasting their time. Mr. Opponent, you had me, GG's. In the next battle, we see Shadow Gator in the lead. Most trainers don't even build up to an Ice Beam, because a Hydro Cannon does like 60%. The opponent not only farms up to the Ice Beam, but they full send it as well. We're then going to farm up, throw the Dragon Claw on the CMP tie to the Hydro Cannon. Dragon Claw goes unshielded, and just the Shadow Claws have got me below half health. Out comes Wall Rain. I look to force my shield back or do big damage with the Super Power. Super Power forces that shield back. We pivot out into Steelix, and out comes Donphan. Very nice to bait this thing out, as Escavalier will not tank neutral Mud Slaps well whatsoever. It is just so bloody glassy. We tank the Trailblaze, full send the Earthquake, hoping to sneak it through the Protect Shield. Earthquake, Shadow and Shadow Crime lands for big damage. The opponent does get that full Mud Slap farm down. We're able to snipe them before they throw a charge move. You can see I'm looking to switch out. Unfortunately, switch timer isn't up, and we now find ourselves in the bait game. The golden rule when using Glassy Shadow Pokemon is call baits. Have some cojones, as people love to bait Glassy Shadow Pokemons. We correctly call the Icicle Sphere bait, and that big balls call is going to seal this opponent's fate. We farm up to the double Razor Shell. That's a CMP tie and I'm doubled up, so whatever they throw, we can just shield it up. It's another bait, but that bait simply will not save this opponent's fate, as we've got the next Razor Shell locked and loaded, and we're going to be able to take that game. GG's, and thanks for playing. Heading into the next battle, we see Registeel, the OG Tin Can. Nice to see you nice. I was tempted to catch a Zap Cannon on Steelix, but I think that's quite a risky play. As if they don't throw, we're just going to get Focus Blast numerous times. The opponent switches out into Drifblim, looking to catch a Superpower. We're going to fire off the Dragon Claw and then make the pivot into our Steel Snake. After landing the Dragon Claw, I'm just going to commit to the full Thunderfang farm down. The opponent going to fire off the Shadow Ball, looking to do as much damage as they physically can. Steelix gets the perfect farm down, even leaves with an Earthquake, good to go. Registeel re-enters the arena, and once again we're full sending. Earthquake does big damage, despite being nerfed a few seasons ago. I think Earthquake's kind of mandatory on Steelix. Too many people run it on Breaking Swipe and Psychic Fangs, and it just becomes such an underwhelming Pokemon. After landing the Earthquake, this Registeel is now free farm for Escavalier. I send out Escav, look for the farm down. The opponent makes a heads up play, not allowing me any free farm, and send out Malamar. I go straight for the obvious Razor Shell. Razor Shell, a terrible move, hence the opponent didn't want to shield. However, it comes with a 50-50 chance of getting the debuff, which we're able to get, which now sets up the opportunity for Escavalier to give the opponent that fast move beatdown. Counters energy generation, might have been nerfed, but it still does just as much damage as it always did. The opponent still has 2 shields, but they can save them for next season. Luckily, it isn't that long away, less than a month. We counter farm down everything and take that game. In the next battle, we see Gastron in the lead. It's nice to catch it in the lead. Using Steelix as a safe switch, if this thing's in the back, you kind of find yourself quite far behind in the battle. The opponent throw the body slam. I'm then going to look to throw the Superpower on the CMP tie to the next move, as Superpower would probably knock him out. It looks like I was refunded there. I'm not entirely sure why I didn't get my move off. But that does enable me now just to overfarm, and even a Dragon Claw from this range will be lethal. The opponent obtains himself a shield advantage in a type negative matchup. However, we bank a bucket load of energy. Out comes Miltank. We make the pivot into Steelix, and out comes Typhlosion. I farm up a lot of energy, looking to fake an Earthquake. I think a lot of people don't know the Steelix count. The opponent actually obliges, putting up that Protect Shield, and they still don't throw, enabling me to reach one further Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs goes unshielded. The opponent ends up throwing absolutely nothing. What went on there? I have no idea. The opponent goes down with 100 energy. Out comes Miltank. We fire off the Psychic Fangs, debuffing their defense. The opponent is going to be forced to throw, or we debuff them once again. We've got a bucket load of energy on Dragonite. However, we're not going to need it, as we can send out Escavalier. The opponent can hit for neutral with Thunderbolt, but one Thunderbolt simply won't cut it. The opponent once again throw nothing. We counter farm down and take that game. In the next battle, we see Guzzlord in the lead. I look to catch a move onto Steelix unsuccessfully. The opponent banks a bucket load of energy and send out Gator. This is certainly a matchup where I am going to consider shielding my save switch of Steelix to get that option to realign. I could shield this and farm down, however I know I survived this move, and I'm going to reach the Psychic Fangs. The opponent could shield this and in turn take back switch, but either way, I am going to obtain myself a shield advantage. We actually get the option to realign without even needing to bank a charge move. However, out comes Talonflame, and we've took far too much damage on Dragonite. I remember this battle well. I was thinking, I'm going to throw the Dragon Claw. When the opponent throws a charge move in return, they're likely going to look to snipe. So I should spam the switch into Escav. However, if the opponent doesn't switch, we'd then just get fully incinerated farm down. I don't make that play, and I think that is going to potentially lose me this battle. Win con for me at this point is a Razor Shell doing enough damage to remove Talonflame's remaining HP. 35 energy, 35 damage. We don't get same type attack bonus. I throw one counter because the Incinerate will knock us out. You can see Razor Shell simply doesn't do enough damage. We're unable to Dragon Breath farm down, and we're now going to get Brave Birded to the face. GG's to that opponent. I definitely think I should have anticipated the combo play. Even if I would have got Incinerated farm down, to be honest, it would have made for quite funny content. In the next battle, we found ourselves a Home Slice Henry fan as someone is using Shadow Mamoswine. He was able to climb the global leaderboards. We're using Shadow Mamoswine in Ultra League, which is pretty cool. I take my hat off to you, buddy. The opponent save switches into Cresselia, and I answer with Steelix. This is actually quite a scuffed matchup. Well, it's not really scuffed. The problem is we're going to need to send 2 Earthquakes to knock them out. It's just a very boring, bulky matchup. They're bulky, we're bulky, and it just takes forever. One of the main reasons I don't use Steelix too often is we get stuck in these matchups that just take forever. What the hell am I supposed to commentate other than saying, I'm Thunderfanging away, I'm going to fire off Earthquakes. Psychic Fangs probably wouldn't knock out Cresselia from that range. We play it safe, full send the next Earthquake, guaranteeing the knockout. Finally, Cresselia goes down. I don't really see the point in getting farmed down here, so we pivot out into Dragonite, looking to reveal their third. Out comes Gator. The opponent going straight for an obvious Hydro Cannon, but we've got 2 shields, it's time to start using them. We shield up the Hydro Cannon, fire off the Dragon Claw. We've got so much energy, I'm going to look for the next Dragon Claw on the CMP type, but clearly this opponent isn't a potato. They don't play to CMP, as Dragonite of course has a very much higher attack than Gator. The opponent going to farm up as much energy as they physically can. We're just going to save our final shield for Escav, and Escav should have no problem cleaning up. Hydro Cannon picks up the knockout. We send out Escav, the opponent pivots out into Mamoswine, and blink and you might miss it. The opponent going to get deleted in about 7 counters, which is kind of crazy. We shoot at the Avalanche, leave with the Drill Run. Drill Run, very much overkill. We've got the energy, we may as well throw it, and we take that game. Heading into the next battle, we lead Shadow Dragonite into Drifblim. Not a particularly good matchup, as Icy Wind would be double super effective. I'm going to stay in, look for some chip and dip action. I fire off the Dragon Claw after 13 Dragon Breaths, giving the opponent 2 free turns. Of course, I should throw 14, which is nice and simple to do. When you receive the energy for the superpower, you should throw the Dragon Claw. So essentially what I'm saying is do as I say and not as I do. We make a slight amends for our dreadful timing, catching the Icy Wind onto Steelix, baiting out Primate. The opponent farm up to the close combat. I'd be more than happy just to completely sack Steelix. However, they actually just go straight for a Rage Fist, which means we get off yet more Thunderfang damage. The opponent throw the boosted Rage Fist, which does knock us out. I'm going to send back out Dragonite, hoping the opponent sends the balloon back out, as I don't want Escav stuck in that dreadful matchup. We're going to go for the 1 shield, full Dragon Breath farm legs. Even these Karate Chops are starting to chunk. Back out comes Drifblim. We farm up, throw the Dragon Claw. I'm really hoping this is Dragon Claw range. If it's not, the opponent is now receiving the energy for the Icy Wind. So once again, we're going to make the catch, this time onto Escav. The opponent's actually switch locked this balloon, so we're going to get off 2 counters. They are triple resisted, giving us a small energy lead. The opponent sends out Skunk Tank. All we've got to do is make sure the Drill Run lands on its intended target. I'm just going to shield up whatever they throw. I'm going to pause a turn. Every time I want to throw, anticipating the catch. There's the catch attempt, which is unsuccessful. We've now got the double Drill Run. The opponent recognises the game's over, and they are going to concede the match. Heading into the final battle of today's showcase, we've got Guzzlord in the lead. Last time, we lost to the Guzzlord lead. I'm looking for some redemption. Again, I attempt the catch unsuccessfully, but the opponent opts to stay in for some chip and dip, which does actually misalign the timers. Out comes Drapion. I'm hoping that I can survive 2 Aqua Tails and the double resisted poison stings. It looks like that Aqua Tail does around half my remaining HP. I'm really hoping Steelix makes a clutch survive. Come on Steelix, I believe in your buddy, but unfortunately it's not meant to be. Aqua Tail picks up the knockout. My Dragonite is so chipped that I imagine the opponent's going to go straight Aqua Tail. So with that in mind, I farm up, throw the Dragon Claw on the CMP side to that next Aqua Tail. Dragon Claw picks up the knockout and I am spamming the switch. We send out Escav and once again we see another Skunk Tank in the back. I don't often bait, but I'm actually going to bait in this matchup. The opponent's kind of forced to shield, because if they don't, they're going to set up an opportunity for me once again to go for that fast move beatdown. The opponent calls the bait, they fire off the crunch, but we got the defense shot, meaning Escav is going to be able to fully counter farm down, leaving with so much energy. Escav more than happy to shield up this crunch as Skunk Tank does hit harder than Guzzlord. When Guzzlord does return, we've got that fishing line out once again, looking for some attack drops. The opponent shields the Razor Shell, which must feel bad. We're already at the next one, which we're going to fire off. The opponent obliges, double shielding. We then make the catch back onto Dragonite. That is such an unnecessary play. As of course we had enough health that we would have been able to Dragon Breath farm them down if they took me out of a crunch. But Escav is going to end the showcase, getting the counter farm down, taking the final battle. GG's to that opponent. And that is just about going to wrap things up for today's showcase. Despite Escavalier being ranked 404th on PvPoke, I think it's got a lot of play in the current Ultra League meta. There are so many things that are weak to the ground type coverage of Drill Run, and a lot of things weak to counter. I'm really hoping next season's move update we see a buff to Razor Shell. Hopefully it's like 50 damage for 35 energy, then it would certainly be a meta threat once again. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button if you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below, and as always, a huge thanks to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.